Hello and welcome back to our Save a Seat series here on Patreon, where we dig deeper with our guests. We are continuing our Issue 9 Identity series, where we are joined by our contributors who get to talk a little bit about their articles, what it means to them, and just dig a little deeper into the subject matter of their article. So I am joined once again by Karen Young, who wrote a great piece about equity in business and helping minority and women-owned businesses to get that equity that they're looking for and to level the playing field and to make sure that they have all the resources that they're looking for. So thank you so much for joining me again, Karen.
No problem. Hi, Chloe.
So for those people that did not listen to our Spotify episode yet, which I urge you to do so, who are you and what do you do?
Sure. Karen Young. I have a small solo practice law firm, Hayes Young Law. I've been an attorney for almost 20 years now, and I work with small businesses and nonprofit organizations, primarily women and minority owned, here in the central Indiana area for the most part.
Yeah, so we had some really great conversations in our Spotify episode about, what does equity mean? How does your practice work to foster that equity? And how do you start to unlearn that racism that we are all taught from, the day that we're born in our culture? So the first question that I want to ask you as we dig deeper into this topic is, how can we start to confront our privilege? Because, most people, especially white people, have privilege. And I think it's hard to know where to start to confront it and know what to do with it.
So recognizing privilege, its existence, that I have it, that it rubs off on my children and around and people with me. I think definitely talking about it when 2020 came, our racial awakening a second time, I became more and more vocal. And even at the time, I had friends who are African American who were saying, so, thank you so much for doing that, but you still aren't doing enough. So that idea of pushing, continuing to push and not dropping the conversation. I was so hopeful that things that, the wave that started in 2020 after the horrible murders will continue and it won't slow down. It might slow, but it's going to continue and not stop. And so I don't know if it's just because I'm a lawyer, but I'll argue and I'll get into discussions with people. And I remember being in one breakfast and the man I was speaking to, who was white, couldn't stand the word privilege and wanted me to agree to not use that term. And I was like, no, I have privilege. I'm absolutely fine with the fact that I have privilege. It exists. I'm going to work to confront it and use one thing I can do with it is try and use it for good. Use what I look like to advocate for others. Step in. I am not scared to roll down my window and ask someone on the road if they're doing okay, because I want to be seen as someone that will be a help and not scared. I did that, I think, twice this week. A kid on a bike, people who are, on the side of the road, and trying to use what I have and help people that don't look like me have a positive experience with someone who does look like me, and work person to person to break down that barrier. At the same time, speaking out the other side of my face, it's not my job to take the microphone or intervene in a situation where I am not wanted or needed or have any business being.
Yeah.
I think that's some of the mistakes I've made, is either not speaking up when I should have, or wanting to be involved in something I shouldn't be, and recognizing that it's not always clear or easy. Even, I'm not stupid. I have an advanced degree, but I've reached out and said, is this an event that I should go to? Because there's plenty of things that I'm allowed, like that minorities are not permitted to. So if this is something that is for minority only, please let me know and I'll back off. And I have no need to come. And there was a Juneteenth celebration, I don't know, several years ago, and I was talking to the organizers, and I said, is this something I should attend? And thankfully he knew I was serious and said, no, this isn't for you. This is mine. And I thanked him, like, thank you so much. Like, if there's a party, I want to be there, but that's not the piece. So I think that recognizing and pushing back against privilege is seeing how somebody else is treated in the same store that I am, and talking to them, reaching out to them, helping. It can be very personal and very, very micro, as opposed to going to protests and joining in, a variety of things, which I've done as well. And so in things like the examples of does a white person named Karen need to get involved in X, Y, or Z?
Yeah.
To the leaders, listening to the, like, where do you want me, where don't you want me, and listening to them, believing them, taking advice from the folks with the lived experience instead of taking the megaphone or leading in this. And I am a leader and I am a talker, and I'm like, I'm gung-ho, I'm going to get out there and let's go do this. And there've been several times where I've been, hit my head on the wall like that. Missed that. So to me, that's, I can get ahead of myself, and I'm sure other, white people tentative, but from what I've read and what I've heard is, despite cancel culture, which I can understand and sympathize with, having as good of intention as I possibly can and as best motivation as I possibly can, and making a step forward and maybe stumbling is better than not moving and staying stagnant